Okay, namaste.
Oh, namaste. Okay, we're going to maybe try this one more time. We had yet another glitch. And so I'm just going to go ahead and play the sound audio portion so that we can put it with some video and get it back up on the YouTube. So this is addressing a little bit more on man's ego, and then wanting to say that basically God is the author and action of all, and then you cannot place the ignorance of man on God. So let's look at this a little bit more, and we get into a little bit more of the biblical things of the fall and all of that type of thing. So namaste, welcome, and off we go. Just how dark of an idea they're presenting. That somehow, it's all perfect, and God is the author of man's imperfection and ignorance. God is the author of man's ignorance? No. God gave them, like the Bible says, if you look at the story of the Garden of Eden, God gave them perfection, but what did man want? I want from the tree, all he had was good. I want to eat from the tree of good and evil. Mankind wanted the evil. And so they want to put that on God where? And God shortened the days of man. He put him in a corporeal body because he wanted to chase evil. That was grace. That's grace that he put him in a corporeal body that limited his days so he would have a chance again to go forward and again to try and come out of this. Man has been the author of his own confusion. He chose confusion. I want knowledge. Man was before in that divine perfection, before that quote-unquote knowledge arose of good and evil and duality, man. So, good choice, mankind. Couldn't leave well enough alone, could we? No, we want to know good from evil. All we knew was good, but we want to have the opposite on the plate, too. We want to enter duality. Okay, so now we pay the price of that duality and the karmic repercussions that come with it. So let's continue on with this. Chose duality. He left the garden. And at that point, God put up that block where they couldn't come back to the garden at that point. And so the spiritual path is about letting go of that ego dominance and that corporeal drama of duality that man has chosen. Man doesn't understand any of the texts. I don't care if it's Hinduism, if it's Buddhism, if it's Christianity. If you look at the texts and you understand, you'll understand the journey. But they don't get the journey. And they want to put the blame on God. God has done, or God, it's all perfection. No, it's man's ignorance that's running things here. If man got out of the way and honored some things, it would turn around. But they don't. They're headstrong, bullheaded, into their own devices and their own, separations, separation. Same thing with the allegory and the story of Satan. Satan wasn't created evil. Satan was the head of the choirs, the angels. Okay? He only became Satan when he became egotistical and wanted that separation and wanted to have the glory for himself. He became self-centered, a me. Understand? That's when the fall came. And when he fell, he'd take one third of the angels with him. was the fall in that realm. So we had the angelic, the ones without corporeal bodies that fell, and we had the mankind that fell. Okay? Same thing. Ego came to the forefront. Very simple. Very simple. But are they stuck forever in that? No. No. So, you get people and they mean well, but they don't understand even the basic things. And unfortunately, you get men that are trying to teach about the texts and things, and they've gotten so much dogma and stuff in place, and it's been written by men with intellectual understanding of things that are so far off that they've lost the inherent value of it, and they've lost the teeth of the thing, and it's become like mush now. The real teachings have teeth to them, People want to gum everything now. They don't want teeth,
That's a good one.
They want to be spoon-fed. They want to be patted on the head. They want to be affirmed. They want to find out that ego is divine. Ego is not divine. Ego is the delusion, the illusion, the ignorance. The ignorance and separation that's chasing a dualistic story. Ignorance. So yeah, this is going to be a tough teaching for people today. But it's the truth of it. You don't believe me? Get the Bible. Go read it. Oh, but I'm Hindu. I don't believe the Bible. Okay, then, I'm sure there are other texts, that will talk of the fall. It's pretty common. Or the human condition. Buddhists look at the human condition of suffering. So anyway, I want to interject a little something here as well. When we talk about the fall, it doesn't mean that mankind is inherently evil or anything like that, They talk about in Christianity that mankind is fallen. It just means that they're in ignorance and they have lost that primal knowledge. That's all. They're in illusion. They're in delusion. And so this idea of being fallen that stems in the Christian persuasion, they've taken something and wrapped it up and couched it in something of a fearful nature, and this is not something to be in a fearful nature of, that evil, mankind is inherently evil and bad. That's not what this means at all. It just means that we've taken the non-duality and we chose at one point to have this experience of duality and went into a corporeal body because we wanted knowledge. Okay? So the process to go back is to strip it again bare, to go beyond that conditioned mind that comes out of that play. Okay? So let's continue on. Okay. So let's get back to the truth of things. Let's get back to the truth of things. That's all. It's going to take an internal journey, and it's going to take being willing to stand up and be accountable for your actions and giving the seva to humanity to do what you can do to aid humanity. Rather than being so self-centered, and it's not my problem, God's going to take care of everything. Well, if you don't change here, I guarantee God's not going to change here. God's just going to knock you upside the head with karma to say, don't you get a clue yet? Because you've been given free will in this planet to do what you're going to do with it. Understand? And if you're going to screw it up, you're going to screw it up. God didn't cause global warming. It's man's ignorance again. God didn't cause the wars. It's man's ignorance of not understanding there being one God, and it's his humankind. Okay, so let's look at this again. I'll interject a little bit here. You know, you want to say that there's no free will. If there were no free will, you would have no choices ever in anything. You would be like robots. Absolute robots. And there would be absolutely no ability to change anything ever. There would be no turnaround in life. Impossible if there was no free will and God controlled everything in that manner. Okay, but no, here, and when you're in duality, you have that limited, it's a limited free will. Of course, you can't do everything, you know, that you want to do. You could do it, but you got to pay the price for it. It comes with karma. It comes attached to karma. So let's continue to look at this. You know, mankind, as long as he wants this realm of duality in the transient, and he's got this corporeal body and he's playing in it, then he's got to deal with the consequences of that, and also has to play by the rules of the planet. You know, that's the way that works. That's the way that works. But don't, you know, put the blame and everything on God. That you have no free will and God is doing everything and you're forced to do these things. That is absolute nonsense. If one is forced to do it, there would be no drug addict that would ever get better. Ever. Ever. There'd be no way to turn anything around ever into any kind of a change. Okay? There would never be suicide. Because God doesn't want you to throw away your life. If God was controlling everything, you would have no ability to throw away your life. But clearly you do. You can make that choice. It's a foolish choice. But one can make that choice. So again, let's understand some of these things and cut some of these knots of ignorance that one has been running around in these fallacies of God is in control of everything. Inherently, yes, there is that thread of God that runs through all of existence, and so it holds the laws of karma in place. It holds this way to bring some balance in, but it doesn't mean that man cannot continue to try to throw things off balance by his ignorance. Okay, so you need to accept some accountability for your actions. Okay? And it's only when one goes beyond that mental spin that they're in that spontaneity. And they're no longer being driven by these erroneous dramas and conditioned mind that they've built up into unproductive things that not only destroy themselves and bring suffering to themselves, but destroy the planet and bring suffering to the planet. So let's continue on. Man has put this separation and this ignorance in play, and people want to blame it on God. Oh, I'm doing the will of God, and we're going to have this, you know, all these holy wars. There's nothing holy in it whatsoever. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Being done under the name of God, that's the most heinous. Because God is always that perfection that wants to give grace. Even the tough love of karma is grace. To knock you upside the head and say, wake up. Isn't it time to wake up? Do you not see your actions are causing suffering? At every turn, you keep choosing suffering. Wake up. And this is benefiting how? It's not benefiting. Not yourself, not humanity, nothing. Are you not tired of suffering? Unbelievable. And mankind hasn't come to the point of understanding, be still and know. They want to have all this intellectual drama and look for somebody out here to save them, somebody out there to save them, something here to cling to, something here to worship, something here to, nonsense. Because all they see is the separation. All they want to believe in is the separation. They're scared shitless to drop that separation. It's right here. Always has been here, and there's only one. There's not many. When all that delusion falls, it's not oneness. That one, all these little special components with all their, glorious differences that are so valued. That's ego. When all of it falls into really one, I'm not talking oneness, sort of like one. When it all falls into that absolute one, what a difference. Then there is no higher or lower, could never be. There is no separation, has never been. There is no, I've never been born. I have never died. That was the illusion of dualistic separation and confining to a body form as a me. But one drops in that last hole and it all dismantles. There are no words to speak of it because all words are duality. There is no language of non-duality. There is nothing. Therefore, it cannot be spoken of, because any word creates a separation of dualistic mental drama. So it's only be still and know. It's the only way it can be, understand? Be still and know. Enter the unknowing beyond knowledge. Like St. John of the Cross entered, the unknowing beyond knowledge. And more than this he could not say, because it would be absolute heresy. At the point of the Inquisition, can you imagine him trying to say that God is? God is be still and know. Enter the unknowing beyond knowledge. That was realization. But he could not speak anything of that in that time. So in all traditions there have been those that have entered realization, if you know what to look for. Kundalini is present in all the traditions if you know what to look for. Many of the saints went through, Kundalini awakenings, like Padre Pio, Teresa of Avila. I think it was Teresa of Avila, the one of the little flowers, if you read her. So I wanted to change that. I think instead of Teresa Avila, it's Teresa Lisieux. So we'll continue onwards. Things, you can understand that what she was in the midst of was a Kundalini journey. Quite easy to see. So it's come through all traditions. Just many traditions it's not spoken of. They couldn't speak of it because it would be considered heresy. It's not understood. If you go in a Christian church and you talk about Kundalini, they'll think you are the devil in darkness and oh my God, because they don't understand it. They don't understand really what is the moving of that Holy Spirit and what the tongues of fire and what all of that is. They don't understand it. This is why a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. You've got to understand the whole of the truth, or else it becomes not truth. That's all. There is nothing outside to get. There is nowhere to go. There is nothing to gather, nothing to collect. One has to continue to throw the mind back in on itself until it stills, until it's done, until it dies, until it rises no more to continue to create a dualistic realm. And that is the only way, and that is the only time that it's non-dual reality. Because mind is dual. That is its nature. It continues to create persona and me until it is no more. That's the truth of it. If you're in mind, the highest you can be is into oneness. That's it. If the mind is going, it's coming back and forth, the highest one can be at is in oneness. And maybe some glimpses here and there. Maybe one can be sitting in a meditation and in a nirvikalpa samadhi, and during that time one is not aware of the world, one is not aware of anything but that is. But when one comes out of meditation and the mind starts up again, it's in the duality, and that's not realization. That's one that has a glimpse. And yes, they could talk about it. They're a jnani in name only because they're not liberated in life, because the mind is still in the spin of suffering. So it's only when one is in that nirvikalpa sahaj samadhi. There is also a sarvakalpa sahaj samadhi, which is one with, all of the aspects, oneness. But one has to get to the sahaj samadhi that's a nirvikalpa, which means there is no mind play any longer. There is no obstruction to that inherent non-dualistic, that truth of absolute. That's the difference. That's the difference. And it is such a vast difference between night and day. The first. So we're going to go ahead and leave it there. And thank you for visiting, and thank you for continuing to stay up with the videos. And I hope that some people enjoy it and get something from it. Okay? So if you enjoy it, continue forward. If you don't, then drop it and go your way and enjoy whatever it is you're doing. That's all. Keep it simple. That's all. Keep it simple. So namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.